A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, there was an idea that inspired ideas. Okay, I live in Australia, but we feel very separated from the rest of the world. You never call, you never write. But yes, a long time ago, when I was 5, there was a cartoon called Plasmo about this cute, innocent, naive little creature, his best friend, and 2 pirate smugglers travelling the galaxy in a spaceship. The only thing I remember about it was an episode where one of them, this was a kid's show, right, has a nightmare about crashing his ship into the edge of the universe. He breaks through and is left floating in a white void. And I remember this because it scared the hell out of me. Not the actual episode itself, but the subsequent discovery I made that the exact opposite is true. The galaxy does not have an edge. It is infinite, and you can pick a direction and travel for 10 years and find absolutely nothing. And me, as a tiny human on this one ball of Earth, just so lucky to actually live long enough to think of this kind of stuff, and nothing means anything. It's just all matter and explosions and yeah. Yes, at 5 years old I had an existential crisis thanks to a little blob of red Play-Doh. And in order to cope with that revelation, I wrote a story where accepting that insignificance is exactly what saves the day. There wasn't a one-to-one correlation. I was not 6 when I wrote this idea. Please raise your expectations. Just a little. Hey, here's something we haven't seen in a while. It's a Patreon printout. Woo! Why is the ghost? Oh! What the? You know this isn't a good thing, right? Like, what this means is I have put so much thought and effort into this idea, enough to write a solid sales pitch for it, and now I'm just giving it away. I'm throwing all that work away for the sake of YouTube. But self-loathing aside, this is my brief for Steel Aurora. In the not-too-distant future, mankind has begun its colonization of Mars, when the discovered remnants of an ancient civilization send the mission into chaos. Now divided between those dedicated to survival of humanity and those who want to resurrect the long-vanished aliens, it falls upon the crew of the newest arriving spaceship, led by Captain Robert Hall, H-A-U-L, not H-A-L-L, to settle the turmoil on the planet before all is lost and everyone back on Earth are doomed. Dealing with hordes of zombified scientists, hideous Martian beasts, and an immortal cult leader driven insane is merely the start of the nightmare awaiting the poor souls aboard the BC Steel Aurora. What does BC stand for? Battle Cruiser? Because it's not before Christ. Taking inspiration from the work of H.P. Lovecraft, this is a sci-fi action film with elements of existential horror, monster and zombie movies like Alien and Day of the Dead, as well as the deeper themes explored in Rick and Morty, such as insignificance in a hostile universe. I've never read a H.P. Lovecraft book. I don't care for his personal issues. It's just a blanket genre now. So I haven't watched Day of the Dead either. God, I'm good. It's kind of funny. I used a random spaceship name generator to find Steel Aurora. Like, it really jumped out at me, basically because of something that comes much later, but it's just really perfect symbolism. So the movie begins with the ship touching down on Mars. The crew come out. They are briefed that once the artifacts were found, some nutjob, one of the scientists studying the alien language, translated a specific line of eternal knowledge. And because of this, he pretty much formed a cult around bringing the aliens back. to share the knowledge. The crew are sent in as a neutral third party to disband the cult. So they go to the cult, meet the leader, who I haven't actually named, but it's the role that I would have played, because it's a juicy role, as the actors would say. There's a lot of overacting possible for this, as we'll soon find out. When we first meet me, I'm very grandiose and over-obsessed, getting a manicure and berating the worker for chipping a nail. You can probably tell I'm not the best with my nail care, or finger care, to be honest, but there's just no talking to this guy. I'm just too far up my own butt to give up all the praise that I've earned for this. And a bit later, when I am performing the religious ceremony to welcome the aliens back, I succeed and get everything I asked for. The aliens are 12 feet tall and hairy, claws and teeth everywhere, and telekinetic powers. All my followers are turned into brainwashed zombies. I'm grabbed by the throat, lifted off my feet. The beast declares that it is giving me my reward. My eternal reward. Because eternal knowledge means knowing everything. Everywhere. All the time. For all eternity. I am now an immortal transmission receiver. Driven insane from seeing everything happening in the universe. Left alone in my makeshift temple. I am broken and babbling on the floor. I drag myself to the nearest wall and start carving symbols into the concrete. Where before I was angered by a botched manicure, I now chip my fingernails down to the bone. But this blood loss will not kill me. Bullets and bombs will not kill me. The only way to die and end my suffering is to throw myself into the gaping mouth of the great Cthulhu god monster thingy itself. I must summon it. I must bring it here to Mars. And after that we'll get a great action scene. This is your Day of the Dead scene where all the zombie scientists are running amok, chasing our heroes through the underground mine tunnels of Mars. Conveniently, in a room at the end of a long hallway, they find a box of dynamite. One guy starts rigging the entire room with explosives, telling everyone to go on without him. People object, he insists, they agree, and leave him alone. He's watching the horde charge down the hallway, staring them off, button in hand. He tries to go for an awesome one-liner, and they charge into him and he drops the button. Oops. But don't worry, the explosions do go off after most of them have already gotten through to chase the others. So, sacrifice wasted. And there's supposed to be about 4 or 5 of those noble sacrifices where one person is going, "Go on without me, I will sacrifice myself for the greater good." And so they die, but then the movie's just like, lol, joke's on you, things still suck. Because the only heroic sacrifice that actually works in this movie is once all else is lost and our hero is focusing on what matters to them, not the greater good. Captain Hall has been carrying around a photograph of his family the whole time. That's what matters to him. Once everything has gone to hell and our cult leader has opened a massive portal in the sky, not only for our Deathbringer to eat him, but also wipe all trace of humanity off of Mars, we have the climactic battle as Captain Hall and a young janitor who's sad he wasted his life cleaning the ship, launch the Steel Aurora to make a final getaway. Unbeknownst to them that the cult leader is also on board, sneaking up behind them and stabbing the janitor in the back. Hall and the leader wrestle on the floor as the ship flies out of control. The leader screaming into the darkness. Robert gets a weapon and runs it through the leader, pinning him to the wall and giving himself a moment to breathe. As he looks out the window, he sees the portal fully open, the beast starting to come through. And reminiscent of the bridge over the River Kwai, he slowly walks towards the console. It's all pointless. The leader still screaming behind him. The universe doesn't care about you. With one hand on the gear shift and a crumpled up family photo in the other, he says, "That's okay. I don't give a about the universe." And collapses. The engine blasts, the ship flies through the portal, smashing the beast in the face. With a massive roar, it explodes in a giant metal eclipse. The aliens are stunned. Debris starts to rain down on the planet. One burning pile slowly shifts as we see the charred remains of the leader stand up, his entire body charcoal black, staring at himself. He lets out a mournful cry. He failed. Post-credit scene, we cut back to Earth. It is a dead, dry desert. There's a small house with a little family running around. A NASA truck drives up. Spokesman gets out to announce their great-great-grandfather, at this point, I guess, has passed away. A picture of him, a few medals. The end. As much as I don't want to draw back to H.P. Lovecraft, the moral is a Lovecraft story can have a happy ending, as long as you frame it from the right perspective. Thanks for watching. This is my verbal declaration that I will not sue anyone for using the previous outline to create their own work, regardless of how much fame or money you might get from it. I'm definitely not the kind of artist who thinks I can own a concept. However, I would like to see what comes out of this video just for comparison and curiosity. If you do make something or find an existing piece that's similar, please let me know through Twitter or Facebook or email, and I'll happily check it out. And if you want to see the ideas I am working on for myself, please visit my Patreon page for samples and previews, no payment required. Happy creating, Bard Riley out. And two smugglers. Smugglers? Why won't you call? You stole our Jackman. You stole our Hemsworth. You can keep Gibson.